So yes, Bethesda is actually doing this with Starfield, and I kind of wish it was more of a permanent thing, to be honest. And a dedicated Starfield fan uncovered the truth behind the loot situation in the game. And is Starfield finally dying off? Well, there's a two-part answer to that one that might interest you, and a plea from the community to Bethesda. But will the dev team actually listen? All right, so yeah, let's get into this one, shall we? Remember, smack that subscribe button, turn on the bell notification icon so you never miss a future update. But yeah, check out the headline right here. I kid you not, it says this: Bethesda partners with Uber Eats to deliver Starfield goodies. Now, this is going to be happening between October 14th and the 15th, and unfortunately, it's only available to those in Sydney, Australia. But man, I kind of wish this was more of a permanent thing because they have like specific Starfield themed drinks, which I think is actually pretty cool. Check it out right here. It says this: food and drink. You have, of course, the Starfield chunks, Bitten, Tranquility's Space Bean Espresso coffee bag. So all the stuff that you're familiar with when you roam around Starfield. And man, I feel like this could be something that someone could capitalize on in the future for a game that you love. Have like your Starfield drink with your what have you. I think that would be kind of funny and cool. But I'm kind of curious, if you're in Sydney, Australia, are you going to go ahead and try this or not? Sound off in the comments down below. But anyway, let's move on, shall we? So yes, loot scaling. It says Starfield number cruncher calls loot scaling laughable after killing the same level 98 elite 100 times in New Game Plus 2 for science. Interesting. So let's get into the nitty gritty and find out actually what he discovered, shall we? So it says this right here: Starfield scientist has crunched the numbers to prove that truly excellent loot is extremely hard to find by murdering the same unlucky level 98 NPC 100 times and recording the gear they dropped. Now, in a post on the game's subreddit, user Edik noted that elite enemies always drop an elite item complete with modifiers that hopefully change the way the gear works for the better. Now, for weaponry, for example, that might mean bonuses like increased damage while aiming down sights, a bleed effect, damage against certain enemy types, or increased magazine size. For armor, modifiers may add resistance to specific damage types or a chance to reflect damage. So yeah, we know a lot of that stuff, but let's get into this a little bit further, shall we? So it says this right here: noting that they were curious to see just how good late game gear drops actually are, Edik says, I made a quick save a moment before killing a high level elite pirate. They proceeded to kill the exact same NPC 100 times, jotting down the gear they received for each kill. You can see the findings for yourself. And the first thing that you'll notice is that the vast majority of their loot consists of pretty disappointing rare grade drops. Now, let me know how you guys are feeling about the loot in the game. Are you disappointed with how often like super rare items drop? I don't consider, honestly, Starfield to be exactly like a looter shooter, so I'm not exactly playing it particularly for that reason. And what I have in my arsenal, at least in my personal opinion, I think is cool. So that's how I feel about it. And you have certain weapons that are better against certain enemy types, and that's the kind of thing that I actually really do like about how they sort out the ammunition and certain weapon types. Now, let's get into it more. It says this right here: a full 2/3 of those drops come with the blue labeling that confirms they have just one modifier, with another 24 epic drops offering two modifiers. Just 10 out of the 100 drops were legendary, offering all three possible modifiers. So about 10% were legendary. I don't know, not too shabby. Of those, 4 were melee weapons, 3 were helmets, and only 2 were guns. Okay, now we're getting into the details. Now it says, with a legendary navigator pack rounding out the 10. But the biggest issue here appears to be that drops can feel totally unscaled, with Edik noting that killing a level 98 enemy into a Dissembler Ripshank, a low-tier melee weapon that does bonus damage to robotic enemies, is laughable. Now, if you head on over to the Reddit, the actual source of this information, a lot of people are replying to this and they do agree that something is up here. Let me know if you feel like loot seems to be off in the game, or if you're kind of happy with the situation. You know, I think that the guns do offer some oomph. I'm glad that id Software actually got behind the team at Bethesda and helped out with the gunplay. You can definitely feel it in this game. But it would be nice to have more rare weapons, of course, those super legendaries that you can seek out. They are definitely in the game. They just are extremely, extremely rare, which I suppose might be the point. But I'm wondering if they are ultimately too rare. That is the question. I throw that over to you guys. But then again, I know some of you are like, hey, I want them to be super rare. I want there to be some chase items in the game. And then some of you are like, hey, drop them in front of me all the time. So it seems like with this discussion, always when I cover a game like this, it's very divisive. So sound off what side of the fence you are definitely on. But you got to remember, we're talking about new game plus 2. So it seems like a lot of people were kind of expecting new game plus and plus to essentially offer up even rarer, more legendary drops, which is just not the case, it seems. And maybe that needs to be adjusted, but it seems like Bethesda really wanted New Game Plus to be very much an optional thing where you don't feel like you're absolutely missing out on stuff as you kind of want to perhaps create another new character over venturing into New Game Plus. All right, so next up, we have this one right here. Check it out. It says this. It's sad, but I can't bring myself to play anymore. This one comes from Careful Mode and ties into the question, is Starfield finally dying? It says this. I thought I would be playing this game for years to come, like I did with Skyrim and every Fallout game from Bethesda Game Studio, but I'm around 50 hours in, and the game just doesn't click for me. There's something missing in Starfield, the kind of feeling that I did get with every other Bethesda game, but that, for the life of me, I can't seem to find here. Everything feels so disconnected, I guess. I don't know how to explain it any better than that. And I just can't land on one more planet to do the same loop I've been doing for all these hours. I mean, does someone really find fun in running across absolutely empty terrain for 2 kilometers to get a point of interest that we have already seen a dozen times? It even has the exact same loot and enemy locations. Now, I want to pause there. That I have noticed. When I head into a mine that is pretty much the exact same layout, at least make the enemy positions different. At least try that much. You know what I mean? Then again, I personally think that the actual systems that are kind of like on the outskirts of the faction quest of the main story arc, and I'm talking about exploration type stuff, exploring a random mine, and then also doing bounty hunting missions. That sort of stuff really, really needs a total overhaul, in my personal opinion, and would enhance the game a lot if they could give me a mine that was completely different from the mine that I was just in. There needs to be a variation of like literally 30 different mine layouts with enemy positions that are very different from one another. I'm surprised that's not already in the game. So I do wholeheartedly agree with that statement right there. Now, furthermore, it goes on to say the following. Environmental storytelling is supposed to be Bethesda's thing, but this game's world building could have been made by Ubisoft, and I wouldn't have noticed a difference. Am I wrong here, or does anyone else feel the same? And yeah, it seems like a lot of people do agree. 9,100 upvotes here, so it seems like a lot of people are on the same page. Now, is the game dying? Are people finally giving up on the game? We see 9,100 upvotes. We need to go to the official number crunching, and we head over to SteamDB, and we can see right now we're sitting at about 52,000 players concurrently playing right now. That's a difference from the 330,000 that was definitely playing at launch, but it's a steady slope down. It's not like a stark peak, fall off the cliff type situation we have here. This is actually very natural for a game like Starfield. So I would say I would not panic about this whatsoever. In fact, I think Starfield is actually doing very well, all things considering, with some of the divisive nature of this game. And yeah, Bethesda, they're updating it, and I'm kind of curious to see what they do with this one in the future. If they can bring back people, we've seen that happen with games like Cyberpunk 2077, with Phantom Liberty. So I do have a lot of hope for Starfield. There's going to be an ebb and flow to the player number count here for this game. It's only going to be natural. Now, we have a plea from the community, though, so check it out right here. It says the following. Bethesda, please keep working on the game. Take feedback. This one comes from Evil God Shira. who says this is feedback meant for discussion over the game and things we want and hope for. Personally, I feel they could make this the greatest game they have ever. And I'm saying that with mods counted. That is how insanely large this game is. If they really put in the time and effort to fix bugs, add more content, adjust some features, and really work with the modding community, this will be the greatest game they have ever made and one of the best casual RPG games of all time. Do you guys agree? That's saying a lot. That's expecting a lot. It's already my favorite space game, hands down. Now they need to pull it over the finish line for the majority of people. Revamped AI to be more interesting, more unique factions, dynamics, and abilities. Rework temples for either less tedium and repetition or vastly more interesting difficulty and combat associated with them. Yes, absolutely. My God, please rework the temples. Again, like rework the exterior, I would say, of the game with the side activities, exploration, and yes, those temples for replayability reasons. I think that would be immensely helpful to Starfield. Also, yeah, he goes on to say this right here, some kind of alien taming system that lets us ride aliens. Visually, it could be minimal, even if it looks a little janky, it would be fun. More quest XP and rewards to make them more viable than alien hunting. And there are so many levels that XP won't impact much. The ship system is good, but another rework of it would take it over the top. Don't level cap ship parts, just make them more expensive and give people a place to spend all this money. Once we sell a ship, buy a part, we should be able to buy them at our own outpost, and it should be marked that we have bought them before. Let us save ship design. See, this is one of the controversies when it comes to New Game Plus. That situation is just one of those really like a bummer type situation, at least for me personally. New Game Plus needed some sort of blueprint saving mechanic when it comes to your ship designs. I think a lot of people are very, very apprehensive about heading into New Game Plus when they realize, oh my God, I'm giving up all this right here. Are you serious? So yeah, it'd be nice if Bethesda can also look into that. Now, as post goes on, he talks about Outposts and a bunch of other stuff that he thinks needs to be added into the game. But yeah, overall, it seems like the community does not want Bethesda to really give up on Starfield. And I don't think they're going to. Like I told you guys in a previous video, I think that they are going to stick with updating this game for a year to 2 years down the road, up until the first expansion does release. They're going to simultaneously most likely develop Elder Scrolls 6 alongside this, but once they get that first expansion out, I do believe they'll probably go all hands on deck when it comes to Elder Scrolls 6 and really push to get that one released for sure. And I think a lot of people are going to be super hyped for that one, no doubt. All right, so yes, it's time to go over your top comments. Remember, leave a comment down below. It could end up right here in a future video. You never know. So yes, what was my most recent video about? Let's take a look-see, shall we? Here it is. Starfield just got a new critical update, adding new features and a new warning. Check it out if you missed it. Of course, you probably didn't, because yes, they added in the ability to have an FOV slider, which was highly requested, and they're going to continue updates like this throughout the life of Starfield. Now, let's get into what you guys had to say about this one, shall we? So, we have right here, it says, haven't been into a game like I have been into Starfield for years. Have around 100 hours in it now between my two characters on PC and Series S. It just clicks with me. I love that I can decide with what kind of content to do at any point. Love exploring. Love to just land on a random planet moon and run off in a direction. I don't care if the planet is a barren one. That's how it is. But sometimes I need some action, and then I just have to find some abandoned facility and shoot me some spacers and find me some loot. Loot that I can then sell and upgrade my ship and lose some hours in the ship builder. It seems that some people that don't like Bethesda games in general just want the game to be bad so they can point at it and say, ooh, that's bad or that's boring. Well, you tragic random internet person, for me, it's a really fun game. Love your videos. Keep it up. I appreciate that. But yeah, I hear you. I think that one thing that people have or struggle with this game is just enjoying the sights. Like right now, there's moments in this game where I'm just like, wow, that is beautiful. And again, if you don't enjoy some downtime, you're not going to enjoy exploring, which I think that goes with exploring to be alone with yourself. However, I will say this. I think that they should add a radio. At the very least, I love that about Fallout, that sort of thing. would add a lot to the game, especially considering that I personally think it would be cool to like pick up like missing frequencies or frequencies that's never been heard in a while. And maybe that leads you somewhere. That should have been in the game, that type of mechanic. It would have been a lot of fun messing with the radio in that regard. All right, so we have S.S. Smith who says this right here. Another great idea is to have chances to loot rare, epic, and legendary attachable parts for your ship. Of course, this would mean rare, epic, and legendary ship fights. Love it. There are legendary ships in the game. They are super rare occurrences that do happen. I don't think a lot of people realize that that's actually in the game. But I hear you, and yeah, it'd be cool if they could expand that into Starfield. Now, we have Dustpan, who says something I would like them to add to allow us to open lockers and doors while using the scanner. Yeah, surprised that's not already in the game. And then Andy says, love the game despite its bugs, although can't help thinking it would have been more fun if it was actually set during the Colony War with mechs and xeno weapons running amok. Seriously, though, where's the traditional faction conflict? Stormcloaks versus Imperials, Institute versus Brotherhood. I guess there's the Crimson Fleet decision, but it still feels like a missed opportunity. Yeah, I picked up on that as well. It was more focused around the main plot point, I guess you would say, with this one when it comes to that sort of thing in a way. But yeah, it would have been nice to have more friction in that regard. Perhaps they're saving that for the expansion, or maybe even some sort of prequel down the road. I think it would be cool to see the Colony War highlighted in an entire game. All right, so there it is. Thank you so much for all the comments. I love reading all of them, so keep them coming. And thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned here for more Starfield news and updates. I have you guys covered, and I will see you all next time. Take care.